Okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about our next topic here, which is topic 2.3, cell size. Maybe a question you might have asked yourself before, maybe you haven't. It's why are cells small? And I mean that literally. Why are cells small? They could be large. Cells have all the machinery to support larger structures, right? They have cytoskeletons, they have a nucleus, they have the ability to have stuff come across that cell membrane. Why are they so small? Why do they form these larger structures instead of being the larger structure? So let's take a look at some cells. First of all, just to get a scope on their size. This is the smallest eukaryotic cell. You can see it's this. If you'll notice this structure right here, this looks to me to be a chloroplast, right? Maybe it comes from here. I don't know exactly how this thing is shaped, but this is chloroplast, really a small prokaryotic cell. It's barely twice as large as that, right? This is only 1 micron large, approximately, or 1 micrometer, right? Micrometer. 1 micron. If you look over here, this is the largest cell. This is an unfertilized ostrich egg, which is approximately 150,000 microns large. So very, very large, right? So cells can get somewhat large, but this is the largest one that's in existence today, this ostrich egg. In general, when we see cells, they are very, very small. They're very tiny. They're maybe 10 microns large, 10 to 100 microns large. Somewhere in that range is where all eukaryotic cells kind of lie. So cells are very, very small. The question we're going to answer today, or attempt to answer, is why? Why are they small? So we need to start talking about some things here: surface area and volume, and surface area to volume ratio. But before we do that, I want you to ask yourself. I'm going to draw 2 cells over here. Just draw a circle here. Let me draw a bigger circle here. And I want you to ask yourself, just in general, this is just kind of in general, let's say we had a particle. We have particles in here, right? We know that particles kind of diffuse across these membranes. Let's pretend these these large things here are cells of different sizes, right? Let's pretend these are membranes. Let's say that in the middle here, in the middle of each of these cells, I'll put a little dot right here. Let's say that we have a reaction that's got to take place, and it requires whatever this is outside, this little floating particle. This reaction inside requires that, and it has to get to the middle of this cell. Well, this particle is going to move in this direction, right? It's going to move in the outside of this cell. So assuming they move at the same speed, I want you to ask yourself which reaction is going to occur first. The reaction here, in which a particle is moving in toward the center, or this one here, where a particle is moving in this way toward the center. Ask yourself in which of these situations is this reaction going to take place first. I'll pause and wait for you. Or you pause and wait for me. Okay, you should have said the reaction should take place quicker in this smaller cell. This is kind of a general way to look at it. You'll see it better when we do a lab in class later this week. But this is a general way to look at cell size and see why it's important to have something that's much smaller. What we're going to notice when we talk about cells is that this right here, surface area to volume ratio, is very important in determining what's optimal for a cell, right? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to calculate the surface area of this cube over here, assuming that each of these sides are 2. Each of the sides of this cube are 2. We're going to pretend these are cells right here. So each of the sides are 2. You should remember the formula for surface area is 6, since there are 6 sides, times s squared, right? These are in centimeters. I'm going to calculate the surface area, and then pause, and I'll do it with you. Okay. So, surface area, 6s squared. Each side is 2 centimeters long, so the surface area for this is going to equal 6 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 6 times 4, this is going to give us 24 centimeters squared. Is the surface area for this cube, for this first cube. Now what I want you to do is I want you to calculate the volume, remembering that the volume is the side cubed. Go ahead and pause, do this, and then when you return, I'll go over it with you. Okay, the volume for this cube up here is going to be 2 cubed, right? So 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. The volume is equal to 8 centimeters cubed. Okay, so we've calculated surface area. Let's see if we were right. Yep, 24 centimeters squared. Calculated volume, and we came up with 8 centimeters cubed. Now what I'd like to do is calculate something called the surface area to volume ratio. What this tells us basically is how much surface area is there per amount of volume, right? So the way we're going to find this is we're going to take surface area and just put it over the volume and calculate. So if we do that for here, we should get 24 centimeters squared over 8 centimeters cubed. We should end up with, let's see, surface area to volume ratio of 3. Surface area to volume ratio should be 3. And there you go. So this number right here is going to be very important. What I'd like you to do is following the same process. I'd like you to calculate the surface area to volume ratio for this cube here, for this cube here, and for this cube here. And go ahead and pause the video, do these calculations for these cubes, find the surface area, find the volume, then find the surface area to volume ratio. And I want you to kind of complete a chart similar to this in your notes right here. So go ahead and pause the video, continue that, and I will go over it when we come back. Okay, if you did everything correctly, make sure to correct yourself as we go along. This 4 centimeter side cube, you should get a 96 centimeter squared surface area, a 64 centimeter cubed volume, and a surface area to volume ratio of 1.5. For the 6 centimeter sided cube, you should get 216 centimeter square surface area, 216 centimeters cubed for the volume, and a surface area to volume ratio of 1. Okay, let's do 8. You should have got 384 centimeters squared surface area, 512 centimeters cubed volume, and you should have got 0.75 as your surface area to volume ratio. So you'll notice surface area as cells get bigger, gets bigger, right? Volume as cells get bigger, gets bigger, right? But what gets bigger faster? What gets bigger faster? Surface area or volume? The answer to that, if you'll notice, is volume. Look at volume. It starts off even smaller than surface area. But look how fast volume kind of grows in comparison to surface area. It reaches 512, while surface area is still at 384. And if you'll notice, this will get more drastic. If you wanted to calculate even larger cubes over here, it would get even more drastic, right? So you also notice, as cells get bigger, the ratio of surface area to volume, since the volume is getting together, it is growing much larger, right? Since the volume, in other words, this, I believe this fraction again, let's see, surface area over volume, right? If this is growing faster than the top, if the bottom is growing faster than the top, you're going to start getting a smaller and smaller number, right? Because the denominator is growing fast. So the surface area to volume ratio as a cube or any geometric structure gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The surface area to volume ratio gets smaller. What that means is that for each, remember, surface area of the cell, the outside of the cell, right? You can think of mitochondria and chloroplasts from last video that helps. This surface area, the surface that's outside, this is where the work happens. It happens along the outside of the cell, right? So as these cells get bigger, there's more and more volume to kind of service, right? And it gets harder and harder when there's this area, the surface area outside isn't growing as fast as the volume. So what you desire for a very small cell, if you want to calculate one final surface area to volume ratio, calculate one that's let's go 0.001 centimeters. Try that, 0.001. Calculate that and see what happens to this surface area to volume ratio. You should notice that it gets very large. So in other words, a high surface area to volume ratio is very good for cells. So the more surface area you have per unit of volume, the better for cells. Okay. So go ahead and calculate this one just for your own knowledge. Just look at 0.001 centimeters. Calculate the surface area, calculate the volume, and then calculate the surface area to volume ratio, and see what you get. You should get something pretty large, meaning that there's a lot of surface area per amount of volume. So let's take another look. I saved this one here. I put this picture in here because I just like the way it looks. Look at these nuclei. These nuclei are the same size, right? What you'll notice in the smaller cell, where's stuff going to be able to reach the nucleus the fastest, right? In the smaller cell, because it has it's easier for stuff to diffuse across there, right? As the cell size increases, you're going to see it's harder and harder for this surface area to serve the needs of this entire volume of cell, right? I put some formulas down here as well. You don't need to write these down. These are on the formula sheet, and they're not something you need to memorize. These are just various surface area and volume formulas. I put them over here because I want you to tell me, and maybe I'll give you extra credit if you come show this to me in class, but what has a higher surface area to volume ratio? A sphere with a volume of 1,000 or a cube with a volume of 1,000 centimeters cubic. Which of these has a higher surface area to volume ratio? I want you to calculate it and show it to me, and tell me which one would be better at diffusing materials in the cell, a sphere or a cube. Show that to me and I'll probably give you some extra credit on something. And the last thing I want to talk about is not just the cellular level, but I want to move on to kind of the bigger biological level and why surface area is so important and maximizing surface area is so important. Look at this elephant here. It's got, you notice elephants have these big ears, right? Big, thin ears. They're very thin. The reason for this is because they are trying to diffuse heat. They need a lot of surface area, right? And this is one of their ways in which they increase their surface area so that heat can diffuse across this, outside of their skin. So this even operates at the organism level. And over here I have these penguins who want to retain heat. You'll notice they have very rounded bodies. See these penguins' bodies are very round and flat. There's not a lot of folds, not a lot of extra surface area. Because there's not a lot of extra surface area on these penguins and it's kind of stretched very flat, that means that heat is better able to be maintained and is less likely to escape the organism. So this nice folded, thin, large ears of an elephant help heat to escape, help heat to diffuse into the environment. And conversely, these very compacted and non-folded exterior, these penguins, kind of allows heat to be maintained much easier. So that's pretty much it for cell size. I hope that made sense. We'll do a lab on it in class too. So, all right, thank you for listening.